This is going to be a fun session because today we're talking money management for couples. Let's get started. I'm Tanya Rapley. Welcome to a new series from State Farm and Let's Start Today. This is where you'll find the tools, support, and education you need to take control of your finances today and reach your goals for tomorrow. These helpful courses are inspired by an ever-evolving learning lab known as Nextdoor State Farm. And speaking of Nextdoor, I have Dan, a financial coach at Nextdoor State Farm, and Axel, a State Farm agent. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to be here.
So let's help couples strengthen their financial relationship. You guys ready to talk money counseling?
Ready.
Let's do it.
So during this, we're going to cover typical problems and hurdles that couples encounter, helping couples define their financial goals, building a budget, to join or not to join, and helpful budgeting tools for couples.
Well, I give him the pleasure of being the boss.
I would say I am, yeah.
Well, I do like shoes and, periodically a little retail therapy. Not too bad, but I'll let him handle that. Shoes aren't hurdles. They are absolute necessities, a need and a want.
All right, so both of you work with couples on a regular basis. What are some of the obstacles that you see couples encountering when it comes to managing their money?
Yeah, I think the first one is communication, and it's probably the biggest one.
Biggie, yeah.
Right? Money's kind of a taboo topic to talk about, and so we often don't have it. We don't really know how to have that conversation. Maybe we learned money from our parents, and by the time we learned it, they were already either merged or not merged. They knew what they were doing. So I just don't have the conversation.
Absolutely, yeah. Communication is key, and I think that people have a fear of being judged by their partner, or that their partner might not find them as attractive because they don't have good financial habits. They kind of keep it to themselves. What about you, Axel?
Sure, I think transparency is extremely important, and I would lump this right in with religion and things of that nature. It's a really important topic, and they have to make sure that they are on the same page and talk it out. The first thing that I find when I meet with couples is they don't have the transparency yet. They're still trying to figure out what the other person's doing, how they're thinking, what their philosophy is. They're still trying to sort all that out as they move forward in this long-term relationship. They haven't had those conversations, and sometimes they're having that conversation for the first time in front of me.
Oh, fun.
So it's great. You got to have the conversation.
Adds variety to your day, though.
It does. It does.
What about you, Dan?
I totally agree. It's communication.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, hey, we're going to you because this holds us accountable. We're going to sit down and have the conversation because we have to. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely, and I think that most people don't have that conversation until they reach a problem. It's important to have that conversation before the problems start so that you can make sure you're on the same page regardless of what happens in your relationship.
Talking money, right? It's not about money. It's not about dollars and cents. It's not about this bank account, that bank account. It's about hitting your goals together, which we'll talk more about, right? But people feel embarrassed. I have this debt, or I'm embarrassed that I'm so good and I don't want to be intimidating. I've seen that.
So good at this.
I've seen that. And so it's just a conversation that we just don't have. We find something that works and we just stick with it.
Other than communication, what would you say is another common problem that couples encounter?
I think probably they're just their philosophy. What is it? What is your goal? Are you aspiring? Some people will say, we'll talk about their renters, and they might want to be a home buyer someday. Or they'll say, well, we're not going to do that for a few more years. And I'll say, well, just if you have a plan, if you understand it, you're educated, you can inspire a lot easier and a lot better. And I think that's usually one of the things that we try to get out of the way as quick as we can, is don't feel like you need money today to do something. Because if you are aspiring to this goal, it'll be much easier to accomplish.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think a lot of the times the conversation comes around risk. And Axel actually mentioned this in a conversation we were having beforehand where, sometimes somebody's like, hey, let's get out there, let's grow this money, let's go crazy. Yeah. And the other person's like, whoa, I didn't think that was our plan.
Put it in the mattress.
Yes, exactly.
Put it in the mattress.
And if that conversation's not had, right, we might be working toward the same goals, we might be totally aligned and trying to get there two entirely different ways.
Communication, I think, is the basis for all of this, but also just understanding how each person grew up when it comes to money. Because some people witness different role models or financial role models in their household, and some of us didn't have financial role models at all in our household. And how does that affect what you perceive to be your role in this relationship? So I think that's important too.
Totally agree.
When it comes to undergrad, for example, how how your parents, did they get a degree? Did they both get a degree? How did they pay for it? How did you pay for yours? Did you get one? Those are the things I think will also drive, it's all relative. So I got my degree paid for by the Army because I did ROTC. So that's my perspective. Even though my parents had the money, that's how I chose to do it. Another couple might say, well, I had to work through college. I had to bust tables. I had loans, whereas their spouse or boyfriend or whatever had all that given to them. So their perspective on how are we going to save money for college for our kids instantly is now different. And again, for the first time, they're having this conversation in front of me. And as long as the transparency is there and they talk about it, it'll all work out fine.
Yeah, and I'm happy you mentioned that, because I think that when you're intimately involved in a couple's financial matters the way that we are, you kind of develop these tools to help people tease out that financial tension. And one of the things I've learned is tone, tact, and timing for having financial conversations.
Oh, I like that.
Watch your tone, remain tactful, and think about the timing, because every time is not the right time to have a financial conversation.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want to have that conversation when you encounter the hurdle, but it might not be the time. You know, at the dinner table, might not want to talk about the shoes you found in the trunk or something like that. So.
Well, that's why I think communication's so important, right? Because a lot of times this stuff is going to come out one way or the other.
Yeah.
If you choose, kind of the time, the place, the tactic, it's a very productive and honest and growing conversation.
Yeah.
And if it's a snide remark when you find shoes, it doesn't work the same way necessarily.
Not at all.
So.
Absolutely. So I think that hurdles will occur. Things will happen, but it's about communicating and working through those hurdles together as a couple so that you can get on the other side and reach your financial goals, right?
Absolutely. It's a team approach. And like in my house, for example, I happen to love washing the dishes. I just think it's great. I think it's therapeutic. I hate ironing. So we have our assigned duties, and sometimes finances is assigned to one person, but you still have to have a backup if you can't do it, or they have to have understanding.
Absolutely.
I love the dishes too, but it's dusting for me. I can't, I hate dusting.
Dusting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, both of you guys can come on. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. We can do all your dishes. Yeah, but if I had like one takeaway, it can feel uncomfortable, and it can be hard to do, but have the conversation. I cannot tell you the number of people I've worked with who had a conversation and it didn't go exactly like they wanted it to, and they still felt better afterwards than if they hadn't had the conversation at all.
I agree. Have it anyway. Other than us, and a few select people, I don't think anybody really enjoys talking about money, but have it anyway and you'll be happier that you did.
Right. You enjoy hitting your goals, and
Absolutely.
you need to have that conversation if you're going to do that. It's been my experience.
So we've covered how couples can handle financial obstacles and deal with those different issues that may come their way, right? Let's have a look at what we've learned. Make sure you check out all of our tools, support, and education, as well as all of our other courses. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.